Great, great. Let's take off.
All right. I'm Reggie. Thank you for having me. This is my fourth trip to Tel Aviv in the last 15 months. I live in London. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. All right. Yeah, from Atlanta, folks. I'm going to have a talk today really to the entrepreneurs and the founders. It's not going to be about Oracle. It'll be a little different talk than I've ever given. I'm a three-time entrepreneur. My most recent, all three were acquired. My most recent, first was WebMD, then a company called N2 Broadband, and then a company called Vitru that all became leaders in their businesses. Vitru was acquired by Oracle in 2012, and I now lead Oracle's startup ecosystem activities all over the world. We started with an accelerator in Bangalore about a year ago. As an alpha program, I was given the opportunity to expand our capabilities around the globe. The first place we came to was Tel Aviv in January with our very first accelerator. We just launched our first cohort, and we're incredibly excited to be here. We've made 2 acquisitions here. We've got a big R&D focus, and this is Startup Nation, right? So I'm going to talk about bold innovation. So what is innovation, I guess, to start out with? And if you ask 10 different entrepreneurs, they're going to have 10 different answers. It was referred to recently as the most important and overused word in America, and I'd say probably the world, but we all know how important it is. And so for me, this is the definition of innovation, and it applies to business and applies to personal life. I'm just going to read it. Staying relevant, purposeful, and valuable through a constant process of evaluation, testing, learning, and growing. And really, I think it works for both your business and your personal world. And it's really no different about your personal growth. So we're going to be talking about that over the next few minutes. And there was a book written by Robert Tucker a couple of years ago that said innovation is everybody's business, and this is very true. It's not just IT, it's not for the CMO, the head of innovation, or just the CEO or even founders. Everybody in the organization has to focus on this. And really as a founder, as you're building your brand or your startup, it's all about you, really, when you start, your own credibility, and how do you create a vision and getting people to stand and go behind your startup and follow you. And so this is really, what it's about at the end of the day. But really, I think if you think about successful startups, and you all know this in this world, it's not just about the vision. Ideas are a dime a dozen, and really it's about people that can implement them are priceless. And I think that the reality of this business, and I was just talking to our cohorts in a one-on-one conversation, is that starting a technology company is very tough. And I've gone through 3, and I'll have a few examples. All 3 of mine almost went under. 6 out of 10 startups aren't in business after 5 years. That's a cold reality. And I would argue 9 out of 10 fail. And the challenge is, you have this great idea, but you can't figure out the go-to-market, you can't raise capital, you can't execute, you can't implement. And sorry, my son's trying to call me. He's here somewhere, obviously lost. But anyway, this is what's going on here. So I want to talk about now, what are the characteristics that I see that define success both in companies and in people around this area. Okay? So let's talk about those characteristics. It's not showing up on the slide, the characteristics. First one, curiosity. And this is obvious. Always be curious. You have to, Andy Grove says only the paranoid survive, but I see this as always asking questions, having a childlike curiosity that really comes from being inquiring and asking questions. The next one is truth. Jack Welch, some of you might know or have heard of the famous CEO of General Electric. The stock went up in 20 years when he was there 4,000%. And he basically said, do not see the world as you wish it to be, but as it really is. And this is really hard for entrepreneurs, is to see the truth and define it and say, okay, this is really not working. I've got to make a pivot or change. So truth is critically important. The next is humility. You know, we hear about so much arrogance and bravado in Silicon Valley, and you got to beat your chest all the time about how great you are and all that. And people want to follow confident leaders, but I would argue the most important trait of leadership, and I would argue servant leadership, is being humble. The next trait is perseverance. And it's so important. You're going to get knocked down in your startup. You know, many, many times. I got fired by customers. I faced challenges. But those that persevere, those that see through challenges and walls and get up the next day to fight that, that's not only in your startup, that's you're going to be in your personal life. And again, I'm going to get into this in just a second. You know, the next is discipline. And I don't know if you guys are familiar probably with Dyson. James Dyson is an inventor in Britain. And he's created a personal net worth of $4 billion. And his discipline really, to me, around just focusing on the flow of air to create all these great products, to me suggests that, you know, the world is your oyster, and as a startup, you have this innovator's dilemma, but focusing in discipline is so important. Tenacity. I describe Israelis, like me, I'm not Israeli, is tenacious. And that is that, you know, never say die attitude of constantly getting it done and focus on no matter what it takes, I'm going to make it happen. And then the last is focus. And, you know, light, as we all know, you know, diffused light, you know, covers the world, but focused light can cut through steel. And so focus on your business. I see this all the time in startups, all the time, that don't have the proper focus, and those that do, and they focus on one thing and solving one problem for a customer, are generally those that reap tremendous rewards. And let's face it, we're in this, you know, age of empowerment, and I'm sure that, you know, in the industrial age and the age of the PC, they said the same thing, but we're in this unprecedented environment, particularly keen for Israel, but you've got globalization around the world. You got billions of consumers empowered who have a mobile device, and you truly have an opportunity. You know, the world is borderless to be able to sell your products around the world. You know, with machine learning, AI, IoT, and conversational interfaces, blockchain, there's just so many disruptive opportunities around the globe that are at our fingertips if we can really live and create the right environments. So now I really want to shift to mission statements. How many here in your business have a mission statement? Can I get a show of hands? So most of you. So let me expand the question and say, on your personal life, how many of you have a personal mission statement? Oh, more than I thought, several. So I learned this concept actually 20 years ago, not to date myself, I'm probably older than a lot of you. I was really looking to transition and pivot my life. And I went to a course called Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I don't know if you guys know Stephen Covey. He's passed away, but he wrote one of the best books I've ever read. And basically, I started my first mission statement 20 years ago. I updated it 10 years ago. And then I did it again, you know, 8 months ago at the beginning of this year. And I'm going to share a little bit of that and how that's helped me shape, you know, my life and how I'm perceived in the world. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I just want to highlight a few things from my own personal mission statement. And if I could help anybody reach out afterward, if you want to have a copy of this, I'm happy to share it with you. But basically, purpose and positive attitude. Praise and place God in the middle of everything. Family, I'm going to cherish together. That's first before business. For my wife, I'm going to be patient, loving, and not worry about tomorrow in my life, okay? I'm going to be more deliberate in my actions. I'm going to give back first, so pay it forward. Not just financially, but with my time. I want to be salt and light in the world. I want to follow and pursue my passion and not settle for comfort. I'm going to push myself beyond my boundaries. Never get complacent or lazy. And then finally, I'm going to listen first and try to help others. Put humility first and ego second. Exhibit godly character. Surround myself with people of moral character. Focus on diverse backgrounds. People of different color, racial, religious backgrounds. And be a positive role model and a force for good over evil. So that's my, thank you. That's my own personal mission statement. And I want to give 2 quick examples of adversity. And Adversity has the effect of eliciting talents, which in prosperous circumstances would have lain dormant. This was by Horace a long time ago. So two things. I said I had 3 startups. My second startup, N2 Broadband. I was entrusted to raise capital for the Series B. It was the summer of 2001. I said, nobody works in the summer at VC. For anybody here, sorry. I said, you raise capital in the fall in September after Labor Day. Labor Day 2001, anybody remembers, was 9/11. So that entire fall, I had 45 families that were relying on me. We're running out of capital. I had developed a relationship with the Wall Street Journal reporter, and they had decided to run a story in November of that year, like a couple months later. They had this story on our company. They said the story's going to run. A VC saw it and said, we've been looking for a company like you from Boston. Would you consider an investment? We ended up getting a Series B investment 2 weeks before we were shutting down at a $32 million pre-money for $10 million. The round before was at $8 million pre-money. My largest customer, 95% of our business, Time Warner Cable at the same time, was telling me to shut my business down. They wanted the IP back. And we persevered and got the money raised. So adversity can create opportunity. Second quick one, because the clock keeps moving so fast, is Vitru, my most recent startup. In the fall of 2007, I was fired by my 3 largest customers. We had this vision to use social media to create a way for marketers to connect with consumers back in 2007, but we were really a YouTube for brands. We couldn't get the technology to scale on marketers' websites. We had CNN, Weather, How Stuff Works. They all fired me within a month. I went back internally, and over a period, in 2008, we went from 86 employees, including offshore, down to 20. And it was the hardest time in my life to have to let those people go and pivot and reposition the business. I basically went to Sheryl Sandberg and had this idea. I can be a powerful platform on Facebook, which we're missing audience, to help marketers onboard Facebook. Fast forward, she loved it. We became the leading platform on Facebook for marketers, expanded to Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram. And ultimately, we're acquired by Oracle. The business tripled every single year. And we got through that with adversity and created the leading platform, which was acquired by Oracle. And I'm sorry, and I want to just say, this really has affected me in my personal life and my personal mission statement. About 2 months ago, and I have a public disclosure on LinkedIn, I was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of cancer 2 months ago. It is fine. I don't need, I don't want sympathy or anything like that. I've lived a tremendous life, and I'm feeling great. I'm taking chemotherapy, and canceled all my trips except DLD.
Thank you.
And because I love here, and no, it's true. I love Yossi. And I just want to say, if I didn't have my personal mission statement and God and my family and my relationships and things I would never be able to get through that. So I would just challenge you guys. This stuff really matters, and it'll impact your business and your personal life, okay? So again, just to summarize, staying relevant, purposeful, and valuable through a constant process of evaluation, testing, learning, and growing. And I think another way to twist this, which all you guys can relate to, was said by Reid Hoffman. And this is state of permanent beta, which I know is technology, folks, we can all resonate with in this room. But if you guys saw this quote, it's basically the feeling that you always need to be learning, that you know things but don't know the whole game, and you're alert how the game is changing. So Reid's got a different take on it, but I think it says the same thing, okay? Always on the balls of your feet and always learning, okay? So I guess, if you only take 2 things away from today, from the conversation, the first thing is think about permanent beta and how to apply it to your life and your business, and go develop your own mission statements, whether they're for your business or your personal life. And they've helped me immensely. And then the last thing, I love this quote, again, just to, hopefully inspire you all. But a year from now, a year from today, what will you wish, a year from now, what will you wish you'd done today? So thank you for having me. I am very much humbled to be here. I hope you have a great conference. I know there's great content and events. We're so excited to be here. You know, we are very eager to continue to develop the relationship in this marketplace, and I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
We do wish you all the best in the world. We pray for you. We're so grateful that you came here. We really appreciate it.